Hey, welcome back to Hustle to Harmony. I am your host, Johanna, and today we're going into stage 4 of the Sacred Interruption, which is the divine mess. If you've been following along, you know we've moved through the performance era, the cracks beginning, and the quiet rebellion, and now things get messy. Beautifully, necessarily, terrifyingly messy. Because what nobody tells you about healing from burnout is that when you finally give yourself permission to rest, everything you've been pushing down starts to come up. The divine mess is what happens when you finally created enough safety and space in your life that your nervous system feels safe enough to feel. You've set some boundaries, you've detangled a few things, you've carved out some time for yourself, and then seemingly out of nowhere, you're hit with waves of emotion that feel completely disproportionate to what's happening in your current life. You might find yourself crying in the grocery store because they're out of your favorite yogurt, or at some ridiculous commercial. You might feel rage towards a client who's actually being perfectly reasonable. You might experience grief so deep that it feels like somebody died even though nothing terrible has recently happened. You're not actually going through a breakdown. This is a breakthrough. Your nervous system is finally processing everything it couldn't process when you were in survival mode, but it feels like hell. Let me walk you through what typically surfaces during the divine mess, because understanding this can help you not panic when it starts to happen to you. The rage usually comes first, and it's shocking in its intensity. You're angry at clients who took advantage of your lack of boundaries. You're furious at yourself for saying yes to things that you didn't want to do. You're livid at family members who expected you to handle everything without question. Maybe you bug out of nowhere because somebody cut you off in traffic when normally you're like, whatever. But underneath the specific targets of your anger is something much deeper. There's rage at how long you abandoned yourself. Rage at how much of your life you gave away. Rage at all the times that you said, I'm fine, when you were dying inside. The rage feels dangerous because women aren't supposed to be angry, especially not successful women who should be grateful for their amazing opportunities. But the rage is sacred. It's your life force reclaiming itself. And guess what? You're allowed to be freaking angry. Then there's grief. After the rage often comes profound grief. Grief for the years that you spent performing instead of living, grief for the relationships that suffered while you were trying to be everything to everyone, grief for the parts of yourself that you sacrificed to build your success. You might find yourself mourning the person that you were before. You might grieve the dreams you abandoned because they didn't seem practical or profitable. This grief can feel overwhelming because you're not just grieving what you've lost, you're grieving what you never allowed yourself to have in the first place. And then comes shame. Shame about how long you let things go on. Shame about the mistakes you made when you were running on empty. Shame about not recognizing your patterns sooner. Maybe she whispers like, you should have known better. You're supposed to be smart. How did you let it get this bad? But shame is the last defense mechanism your old patterns have. It's trying to keep you small by making you believe that your struggle is evidence of your inadequacy rather than evidence of your humanity. I call this stage the divine mess because even though it feels chaotic and overwhelming, it's actually sacred work. Your nervous system is doing what it's designed to do, to process trauma, to release stored emotions, and to recalibrate to a new way of being. Imagine you've been living in a house where you just kept shoving all your stuff into one closet because you were too busy to deal with it. Eventually, that closet's going to get so full that you can barely open the door. The divine mess is when you finally decide to clean out the closet. Everything comes tumbling out at once. It's chaotic, it's overwhelming, and your house looks worse than it did before it looks better. But it's necessary if you want to actually live in your space instead of just survive in it. Part of what's happening in stage 4 is emotional reclamation. You're taking back all the parts of yourself that you gave away during the performance era. Your anger, your sadness, your needs, your desires, all of it is coming home. The process can feel destabilizing because you've been operating without access to these parts of yourself for so long. But you need them. You need your anger to tell you when your boundaries are being crossed. You need your sadness to help you process loss and change. You need your full emotional range to make decisions that actually serve you. Your nervous system is also doing deep repair work during this stage. It's recalibrating from chronic fight or flight to a more balanced state. It's learning that it's safe to feel, safe to rest, safe to have needs. This repair work can manifest physically. You might sleep more than usual. You might crave different foods. You might feel a little more sensitive to sound, to light, to other people's energy. This is you healing. The biggest challenge of stage 4 is learning how to feel everything without drowning in it. So here's how to navigate the divine mess. During this stage, you need to think of yourself as the CEO of your own nervous system. Just like a CEO doesn't try to every detail, but focuses on strategic decisions, you don't need to control every emotion. You need to create conditions that support your overall regulation. This might mean scheduling downtime, like you would schedule an important meeting. Maybe you're saying no to a social event when you're processing big emotions. It might mean changing your environment to support your nervous system. Dimmer lights, softer music, more comfortable clothes. Learn the difference between feeling your emotions and being overwhelmed by them. Feeling looks like, I notice I'm angry right now and that's okay. Being overwhelmed is like, this anger is wrong. I need to make it stop immediately. Practice what I call emotional weather reporting. Instead of judging your emotions, just notice them. I'm experiencing a thunderstorm of rage right now. There's a fog of sadness moving through. I'm in a hurricane of overwhelm. Weather doesn't last forever, and neither do your emotional storms. Stage 4 requires what I call sacred selfishness. Prioritize your healing process even when other people don't understand it. Maybe that means turning down opportunities that would have excited you before, being less available to friends and family while you process things, spending money on support, therapy, coaching, healing modalities instead of business growth, taking up space emotionally in ways that feel uncomfortable but necessary. You're not permanently selfish. It's temporary self-preservation during a critical healing. Here's what happens when you move through the divine mess instead of trying to avoid it or fix it. You discover a freedom that you didn't know existed. Freedom to feel. You realize emotions are not emergencies that need to be solved immediately. They're information, energy, and they're messengers. You can feel angry without having to do anything about it right away. You can feel sad without having to cheer yourself up. You can feel overwhelmed without having to immediately organize your entire life. You learn that you can let things go, not just intellectually, but somatically. Old resentments, perfectionist standards, other people's expectations. All of it can move through you and out of you when you stop gripping so tightly. Most importantly, you develop the ability to regulate your own nervous system. You learn what genuinely soothes you versus what just numbs you. You understand the difference between rest and avoidance. You can sense when you're moving toward overwhelm and take action before you actually get there. Regulation is not about control, it's about responsiveness. You become responsive to your own needs, your own rhythms, your own truth. If you're in stage 4 right now and you feel like everything is falling apart emotionally, I want you to know that this is not evidence that you're doing something wrong. This is evidence that you're finally doing something right. The mess is divine because it's the precursor to integration. You can't integrate what you haven't felt. You can't heal what you haven't acknowledged. You can't reclaim what you haven't grieved. Your emotional storms are not punishment for resting. They're the natural result of finally feeling safe enough to feel. Let the mess be messy. Let the feelings be big. Let the healing be non-linear and imperfect. On the other side of this divine mess is a version of you that you've been waiting to meet your entire life. So this was stage 4 in a series of 5. Next week we'll go over stage 5. If you missed stage 1, 2, and 3, they're the last 3 episodes. I'll see you next week.